CBRE is out with a brand new report that says while the Bay Area is still a hub for big tech, Silicon Valley could be facing more competition for top talent. The report shows cities like Cleveland, Long Island, which is not a city, obviously, but a geographical area, Tucson, and more on the rise. With us now to discuss is Spencer Levy, CBRE's head of research. Spencer, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Melissa.
No surprise, San Francisco Bay Area, Seattle, Washington, they remain perched at #1 and #2. But what is going on underneath that, and what's causing this sort of rotation into these smaller areas?
Well, certainly the headline is that there's a scarcity of labor overall and an even greater scarcity of labor when you get into the high-skilled tech trades. This is drawing people into smaller markets like Orlando, like Chicago, which is a big market but a growing market for tech, like markets like Salt Lake City, simply to capture that tech talent. We're seeing another level of concentration in some of these emerging markets, markets like Tucson and other markets that have large universities to both create the talent and create a live, work, play environment where they want to live.
What level of office is moving to these smaller cities? In other words, is it the headquarters? Is it the most highly paid researchers, talent, or is it sort of back office that's going to these smaller cities?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I would say it's less head office, but sometimes a secondary office from a major tech firm. But very often what you're seeing is some firms that aren't directly involved in tech as a secondary function. Those are some of the firms that are moving to these markets. So like a Caterpillar moving to Tucson, Arizona would be a good example of that. But other companies are moving to these markets, not just as headquarters, but secondary markets. But you're seeing a whole growth of innovation. So an example would be Chicago, which has seen over 300 new companies formed in the last couple of years because it's such a great environment for these new tech firms.
Are you seeing any erosion in San Francisco's position at #1, given some of the policies the city has sought to pursue, for instance, the proposed tax on very highly paid CEOs? Is that causing companies to rethink San Francisco as the top place?
I think it's fair to say that San Francisco, Seattle, New York, D.C. are doing just fine. While their growth may have slowed a bit, they are still growing, and they still have the deepest concentration of talent anywhere. And they also have great infrastructure and other forms of virtuous cycles that have people wanting to live there. So the big markets aren't going anywhere. But I think the real question here is that the smaller markets have better momentum in terms of coming up to them because people see the cost of San Francisco. They see the scarcity of labor in markets like New York and in Seattle. So it is not that these markets are going down, is that the smaller markets are growing faster.
So CBRE is a commercial real estate company. So connect the dots for us, Spencer. When you're doing this study and you're finding that Tucson, Long Island, Orlando, they're the next hot places, how does that reflect in leasing rates, in what they lease for, in the demand?
Sure. Well, you'll see in some of these newer markets like Madison, Wisconsin, you're seeing unprecedented low vacancy rates in the 5 to 6% range. You're also seeing in some of these hotter growth markets, Orange County has seen rents go up almost 50% in the last couple of years. But maybe one of the hottest markets of all is Cambridge, Massachusetts, which may be the single best submarket in the United States, and that's biotech in addition to other forms of tech. So you're clearly seeing it show up not only in office vacancy, office rents, but you're obviously seeing it as well in multifamily rents, where many of these markets have become incredibly expensive. And one of the key criteria for people moving to a different market is determining what is not only their cost of labor, but what is their labor's cost of living.
Yep. Spencer, thank you. Fascinating study.
Thank you,
Spencer
Melissa.
Levy of CBRE.